So what do you actually think of Threads then?
Threads. So I actually downloaded it 2 days ago when it released, and it's either going to be one of the two things. It's either going to be something that's going to blow up and everybody's going to be using it, and obviously the power of Meta as well, bringing that to the table, it is great. But with Meta, I mean, they've copied a lot of stuff, right? They've copied like Reels, like with TikTok.
There's over 1 billion views on Reels now as well.
Exactly, yeah.
So like it,
and they're not really innovative, but they copy something because they've got the power and they've got the data. They basically can just bring people over, right? And I think what they're moving to is bringing everything into one app, right? Like the Facebook, because Facebook's dead now, right? But Threads is basically like the Twitter and the short form
Instagram stories,
text.
Snapchat.
Exactly, yeah. You got the Reels, which is TikTok, right?
So
and Instagram's photos, right? So I think there's going to be a battle between Elon and Zuckerberg to who can create the social media that brings everything there.
That's one hell of a battle.
Yeah, 100%. But like also like how big is it of an opportunity? Because like
huge.
You got on Twitter first, right?
Yeah.
For fitness. That's what you said to us last time we met.
One of the first, yeah.
One of the first on there, which allowed for you to get to like, you know, really good size following.
Yep.
Build a really good business off the back of it.
Yep.
Like, is that same opportunity there with Threads?
Absolutely, man. And I think like that's why I've moved over to Threads to try it out. I think there is this first mover advantage that you get with every social media platform. You look at YouTube, right? Back in the day, you got people like, you know, Matt Ogus, you got people like Christian Guzman.
Is that who you used to watch? Christian
Guzman?
Yeah.
Cal,
you're a big fan.
I love him.
Yeah,
he's an OG,
I was
mate.
one of the first that watched him, man. And like these guys have blown up now. Steve Cook as well, right? All these old YouTubers, because they were the first fitness, like original Gymshark guys, they're now killing it, bro, because they're like all the kids grew up watching them, right? Everybody remembers these guys as, you know, the guys that have come up now on YouTube. Yeah, you know a few of them, but you don't, the OGs, bro.
100%. Who's the guy, the motivational speaker? Is it like Matt Plitt?
Greg Plitt.
Greg Plitt, who like he
was a big inspiration. I loved him, yeah.
Yeah, he was a G, but he actually, he got a bit insane, didn't he? Because he thought he could outrun a train.
Yeah, I mean, rest in peace and stuff. I used to watch his most motivational videos a lot.
Same, in the mornings.
Yeah, in the mornings, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was doing press-ups, wasn't he, on a train track, and he just got ran over by a train.
I think he tried to outrun it, mate.
Did he?
I
don't know the full story, but yeah, I just heard he was on a train track, which is probably not the best place to be if you want to kind of like live a long life just doing press-ups on a train track. Man.
He was pilled, though.
It's funny that you said like it makes it better.
Yeah, he had a rig.
Yeah, he was pilled. But yeah, mate, I think you're right. First to platform and first to market, whatever it is, you always have that advantage.
Yeah.
Obviously, I joined Twitter, like the whole Twitter ecosphere within the last like 6 months, and like I think if I had got in there earlier, like, I would have gained a lot more traction, especially in closing, right?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely, man. Yeah.
How much traction do you think you gained from getting in earlier though?
I think quite a lot, to be honest. I think I'm like one of the, if not the biggest British fitness account on Twitter, which is crazy.
That's mental, isn't it?
Yeah, you think about like the biggest fitness account on Instagram, where you compete with guys with millions of followers, but you know, on Twitter, it's still a very new space in regards to posting Twitter content, right? Fitness content, because mostly what Twitter has been people sharing news, sharing outrage, sharing opinions. And then obviously there's this one corner of Twitter which is very focused on self-improvement, right? Which is, you know, get your money up, you know, have a really good dating life, good relationships, get in fantastic shape, right? Learn about the world, develop yourself, self-improvement, which I think is fantastic, because you ask the most normal person in the world about Twitter, they'll be like, yeah, we go on there for like football banter, and we go on there to like complain when something happens, right? It's like this negative ecosystem that you see for a lot of Twitter. So for there to be a small corner of the internet that has that positive message, it's fucking amazing to be a part of, man.
Bro, I never realised the manosphere.
Yeah, the manosphere.
And like the
What's
thing
that?
is like, like it's just like everything that he's listed there. Like it's just like a manosphere. Like
I see.
It's just for blokes, mate, that are like want to do better. They want to improve. There's also a lot of gas on there. There's a lot of like shit talking and everything that comes with it.
Yeah.
But like the whole principles behind it are like what makes it good, if that makes sense.
What do you think the shelf life is of Twitter? Is it untapped or like? What
yeah, and I think that going back to the Threads piece, it's kind of like Threads, despite all of the power they've got with Meta, it's going to be very hard to compete with Twitter, right? Because, you know, you went on Threads app for one day, and then like, how are you keeping me on the platform? Because Twitter, there's already so much going on. There's a lot of free speech going on there as well, which Meta is probably not going to be as open with as well. So I'm a long Twitter kind of like guy. I really think Twitter's going to do well, especially with Elon and the plans he has. But also, you can't bet against Zuckerberg. So I think they're going to be slightly different, but it's going to be hard for Threads to replicate what Twitter has.
I'm team Twitter all the way because of free speech. Like I hate censoring.
Yeah,
I think it's absolute bollocks, mate. Like it annoys me that you can't say what you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
but like I think threads will get traction. So I'm like, you should be utilizing it. But then there's also just like, even with the podcast, we've realized there's too much to fucking do.
Exactly.
There's too much to post on. Like, do you get more of an advantage focusing on one platform, growing an audience specifically on that, or across the board and hitting all of them?
It's a really good question. I mean, the way that I did it is I went all in on Twitter and I put all of my energy and all of my time, all of my resources into that. And then I grow a big platform on there. And I think once you've got one solid platform, people see you there, it's easier to gain traction on like LinkedIn, right? So I've gone to LinkedIn now and, you know, I can share that I've got over 100,000 followers. I've got 40,000 tweets, which I can repurpose to then put onto LinkedIn. And like, I'm growing pretty rapidly on LinkedIn, right? I'm gaining like 1,000 followers a month or something on there. So, you know, that's going to blow up as well. But that wouldn't have happened if I didn't have a big audience on Twitter as well.
That's more your audience as well for the business side of things.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I'm with you. I think like getting an audience on one platform specifically and then transitioning it over to multiple platforms.
Yeah.
Is a faster approach because of the accreditation with the initial platform.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm gonna flip it out, mate.
Go on.
Obviously, our man Tate's out.
Yeah, crazy.
How mad is the situation, bro?
Man, it's been wild to see, to be honest. Yeah.
The thing is, we were talking on the way up here, and I saw yesterday advertised on or I think it was on a YouTube ad, that there's a BBC documentary out of, I can't remember what the title's called. I think it's called like The Negative Rise of Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
Just been released on BBC, obviously subsequently after his interview he did with him.
Yeah, after he crushed the BBC.
Yeah. Yeah, rest in peace to BBC. Yeah. He destroyed.
He actually
poor
did.
woman, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
have you seen that photo of him and her after? And he's like this.
Yeah, it's hilarious, man. I mean, you know, look, I'm a big Tate fan. I've always been, and I think the message that he's got out now that's reached so many people, of course you're going to upset people, right? Like, you're telling young guys to really take responsibility for everything in their life, right? To be a provider, to be a protector, to be stoic, right? These are the guys that cause revolutions, right? Like, if you're a strong, masculine guy and you're telling everybody to be like this in the whole world, I mean, that's not the message the mainstream sends, right? The traditional mainstream message is, hey, look, all this bad stuff is happening to you. You know, order the takeout, go watch porn, be soft, it's not your fault, right? Like, that's completely different to the message that Tate has for young people. And, you know, us guys that are in that space, we really get it, but he's really awakening a lot of other people that have maybe never been exposed to this kind of thinking before. And obviously that's dangerous, right? Like, when you can influence that many people with what you say, you're going to make enemies, right?
Mate,
and
it's the deep state. Like,
exactly.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, I've watched enough. I've read enough. I do think it's a Matrix attack, and as cliche as that sounds, and like everyone on Twitter and everyone, you know, that are, I guess, in like the mainstream that don't understand what that means, like, it's a calculated attack.
It's calculated, yeah, and you can see it a lot, right? Like, and he talks about this. There are people that are doing terrible things that get kind of protected by the media. Philip Schofield, right? Oh. Like, what's happened with him is disgusting. What's happened with, you know, what his brother has done is disgusting.
He's a groomer.
Yeah, he is. He's groomed kids, and you know, the ITV have basically like covered all of this stuff up.
Oh, we feel bad for him.
But like, oh no, Philip's having a bad day, so, you know, leave Philip alone. What? Like,
it's been like 15 years.
It's crazy, bro. And then you look at stuff like Epstein, right? Where's the Epstein client list? None of that's been shared and stuff like that. I mean, there are people that are going to get bad mainstream attention, and then there's people that are protected from the bad mainstream protection. And I think because Andrew Tate is so outspoken and he's not going to bend his knee for anybody, that makes him somebody that's very, very like dangerous, right?
Tate's
you can't buy him. You know, he's not going to sell his soul. He's very principled. He's got values. That's dangerous to people, because most people, Hollywood guys, these guys on the Epstein list, Schofield, they sell their fucking souls, man.
And Tate is a real one. And also, I always find it difficult whenever I hear a lad who questions Tate's principles. I'm like, firstly, you've either not done your research, or like you're just saying that to appease other people. Yeah. Because everything he stands for in terms of hard work, in terms of accountability, in terms of developing yourself, in terms of like supporting the people around you, it is bang on.
It's absolutely bang on, man.
Bang on.
It's bang on. Like, his overall message is bang on. And look, I'm going to be devil advocates here and say, you know, you don't have to agree with everything he says.
Of course,
you know,
who does?
Like, you know, maybe some of his views on women of having multiple women, maybe you don't want to lead your life like that. But to like say that he's a human trafficker, to say that he's dangerous is just completely wrong. Mate, completely out of order.
I absolutely hate that debate.
Yeah.
I had it with a girl before, right? And she was like, do you agree with everything that Andrew Tate said? I said, do you agree with everything that Kim Kardashian's done? I said, she was in a porno, mate.
Exactly.
Like, like, and she, it's like, you don't, if you if you look up to someone or you listen to someone, you enjoy them. You don't have to agree with 100% of what they say.
100%. Yeah.
But if you buy into their messaging because it relates to how pretty much every man should feel, like you shouldn't be scrutinized for that.
No, exactly. And I think that the way you should look at people is, take the best from people, right? Take the best attributes. There are certain people that I look up to that I think I'd love that attribute, but I really wouldn't like that part of them, right? Or, this person has a really good other bit to them, but this side is not what I relate to. So that's the way I look at it, but potentially, because I think that's a much better way to look at things. It's not black and white. But, not everybody has the critical thinking or understanding of nuance or even willing to challenge their own beliefs to look at people like that.
Who are you looking up to then, bro, now?
Oh, it's a tough one, man, to be honest. I think I've said this before, like, there's no real one specific inspiration. There are people like Andrew Tate that obviously, like, I resonate with his message. Whether I'd want to live exactly like he does and have his exact life, probably not, right?
Give us your top 5.
Top 5?
Yeah, like, who you taking pieces from?
Okay, cool. So let's say like I had to go down for dinner and with like 5 people or something like that. Let's say that's a good question, right? So one of them would be like Genghis Khan, right?
Mental.
Nice.
Bro, I read a book. This is a really interesting book I think everyone should read. It's called Wolf of the Plains, and it's basically like a quadrilogy of like 4 books. This guy writes about the story of Genghis Khan, like how he was a young boy and basically grew up and like conquered the whole of Asia.
Ultimate G.
And Ultimate G.
Ultimate,
bro, like rags to riches story, man. Like all the triumphs and troubles he's gone through. Fucking interesting, man. So Genghis Khan is definitely one of them.
And he's probably one of the best conquerors the world has ever seen.
Yeah, one of the best conquerors the world's ever seen, yeah. I think secondly would be Cristiano Ronaldo as well. So
I love
Cristiano Ronaldo, the reason being is like I think he just embodies like exactly what an athlete should be like, right? From a just pure health fitness perspective, from a pure dedication perspective. Like if you look at the pinnacle of what should you be like, how should you train, how professional should you be, he embodies that, and I think that's quite inspiring for me for sure.
Yeah. Who's else? That's 2.
So that's 2. Okay, cool. You put me on the spot.
All right, let's just go for 3.
The thing
then.
is, 5's quite hard.
Yeah,
5's quite
I've
hard,
already got mine lined up. We'll let you think. Who's on yours?
I've got, I'd say first one, this is only because I've been listening to so much of his motivation recently.
Yeah.
Eric Thomas.
Yeah.
Nice. I listened to his morning motivation.
You want to breathe.
Yeah, I just love his energy. I fucking love his energy, mate. So he's number 1. Probably off the back of what you just said has probably influenced the decision, but Marcus Aurelius would be sick.
Yeah.
He'd be fucking cool to sit down with.
Yeah.
2, I don't know, there's...
Yeah,
I'm pretty fucking sweet with those 2, mate.
Yeah,
like you must have someone else you want to put in the mix, though.
Like sitting down with those 2 and having a conversation with those 2. Like I feel like if you have 5 in there, it's just too much of a mashup. Like, I'm speaking to a philosopher, then like I'm speaking to like a motivational speaker, and then I'm just thinking like, what conversation am I diving into there? So
I'd probably have McGregor, 50 Cent,
nice,
Tate,
Kevin
Hart. Kevin Hart's got to be in there just for the bands. Like you'd have a good time if he was there, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
and. I could throw Mike Tyson in the mix.
Yeah,
it's going to be a huge. Like, imagine sitting down with them 5 as well.
It's going to be conversation.
It's going to be.
Would you have shrooms with him?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's going to be a heavy ego off as well.
Yeah.
Imagine you throw like Floyd in the mix as well. Then like
that's what I mean.
It's going to be a fight, mate.
Yeah,
Royal Rumble vibe.
That's what I'm saying. Bit too much going on there.
Yeah. Who's the third then?
So third one, I think it'd have to be maybe Michael Jordan.
Nice.
Yeah, Michael Jordan. Sick. He's a beast, man. I mean, the greatest of all time, the GOAT. And obviously, watching that Last Dance documentary.
Unbelievable.
Just his mindset, man. It's just relentless. And another good book is that Relentless by Tim Grover, who was basically the coach to all these elite kind of players in the NBA. And obviously, Michael Jordan's one of them. And it's just insane to just see the level these guys operate at, man.
Yeah, I've read the book. He used to be Kobe's trainer as well, didn't he?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, he's a baller, mate. When you look at The Last Dance and you listen to those books and like you look at those guys, do you ever feel like you're not doing enough?
Yeah, of course, man. It makes you feel guilty to
a sense, right?
Yeah. And then there are people out there that are operating at that level. It's really eye-opening, but it's good, right?
Yeah.
It's perspective.
It makes me feel like quite like pathetic. Do you know what I mean? Like if like you're not like, say for example, like you're on diet and you're counting your calories and then like you don't do it, you're just like, it's so easy.
Michael Jordan would be doing it.
Yeah.
The thing is, mate, I didn't realise this until I watched it. Heavy gambler.
Yeah.
Like, I did not see that coming from it.
They say that's why his dad got killed.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. Like over his gambling debts. I don't know if that's true or whatever, but like that's one of the rumours behind it.
That's wild. Sounds like a conspiracy.
Well, a lot of these conspiracies tend out being true, mate. Yeah. So you know, there's usually, you know, a reason behind it.
That's true. Mate, you've mentioned quite a lot of sportsmen in there, like, and obviously I know from previous chats, like, sports huge for you.
Yeah.
So, I understand you grew up playing football, didn't you?
Yeah. So I think when I was a young kid, my biggest passion was playing football. So I was lucky enough to play for some of the teams of Bristol City and Bristol Rovers, playing academy level football from a young age.
You're a winger.
Yeah, winger, mate. Yeah, winger. So I was a striker and then I was a winger because I was just rapid. So that was a great experience because I was spending the majority of my childhood like driving around the UK, like playing against all of like the most elite level footballers in the UK, just living and breathing football, to be honest. So I guess that competitive edge that, you know, maybe you need in business and things like that, and in later life came from the fact that I was, you know, playing competitive sports at a young age. And I think that's really good for you because there was a lot of times that, you know, there are failures, right? You lose a big game. Remember this one game we played against Chelsea and we got beaten like 8-0.
That's harsh.
And it's horrible, bro. like
8-0.
Yeah, they pulled our pants down, man. And I remember all the coaches after were not happy because obviously it's a reflection of them. You're just a little kid that enjoys it. Exactly, man.
Should have stuck to being a Sunday League superstar.
Exactly, man. Yeah, exactly. Should have stayed banging goals, mate, where you're winning. No one wants to support a losing team.
You could have scored 15-0 or something
exactly,
like that.
Instead we're getting our pants pulled down for 8-0. But again, like, those are the experiences that you look back on, you're like, it's good that happens. It builds a bit of character, right? As you get older. Because there's nothing worse than not having any challenges and then getting older and life, you know, being thrown at you.
It always blows my mind when I hear about like kids now not playing sports.
Yeah,
like, especially for boys. I don't know about girls.
Facts,
but for boys, like, I'm like, my nephew's 4 years old and he's in the boxing gym 3 times a week.
Yeah,
and I look back and I'm just like, that's going to be so good for him throughout his entire life.
Massive.
Like, he's going to be able to handle himself. He's never probably going to feel too intimidated.
Yep.
He's going to have discipline, dedication, structure, routine.
Yeah,
it's going to be embedded in him from like a young age. And when I look at other kids that haven't played sports, I'm always like, they sometimes, like, it feels like they kind of find it difficult to fit into like new crowds.
Yeah, you make a really good point. It's those attributes that you build, but it's also just like popularity and fitting in. Like, if you're good at football at school, you're friends with everyone, bro.
Yeah,
everyone wants to be your mate. No one's bullying you, bro, because you're cool, right? And like, obviously you don't want your kid to go to school and be bullied, so, you know, get them playing sports, man. Let them fit in, because that's naturally what like kids have done for ages, right? Is run around in the playground, fuck around, and it's a good way to channel a lot of the energy that you have as a young kid as well.
Yeah, that's so true, and it's the competitive edge as well.
Facts.
Like, mate, it's like early competing. Yeah, early doors. If you're playing football or boxing or whatever sport it is, you're competing early on. You're also learning how to like compete with people. Play with people,
and
like,
play as a team, and, you know, contribute. It's communication, all that shit.
And it is what Tate says. Like, the world is competitive.
Yeah,
it's player versus player.
Yeah,
you've got to be the best version of yourself. So those sports at an early age embed those characteristics in you.
Absolutely, yeah.
And like, also, we all know what it feels like to lose. Like, you getting beat 8-0 is a good lesson.
Fucking horrible, mate.
It's horrible.
That's a ruthless lesson.
I remember I lost a boxing match, like, and got stopped, mate.
Really? Yeah.
How embarrassing that is.
Yeah.
Mate. Like, granted,
good though for like the future you, but like,
it made it worse.
At that time, man.
Made it go worse, mate. I didn't even tell anyone. I think that's the first time I've ever told
anyone.
anyone.
One of the figures I didn't even know that.
I don't mate.
He hasn't told anyone, mate, the first time.
I come in heavy. The boy was a lot bigger than me. We'll put it that way. Yeah, he filled me in. It's harsh.
So, mate, obviously footy was massive for you and younger. Yeah. What happened?
Yeah, so I had that really bad knee injury.
Oh, fuck off.
well, hold on. Before we dive into how the football like stopped, like, let's just pull back. Like, whilst you are playing football, like, what you like at school, like what's going on with home life, like, just give us a bit of background, bit of context.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I was a bit of a troublemaker at school, bit of a class clown, you could say. Wanted a lot of attention and stuff like that. I'm not sure why, to be honest. I just like playing up a little bit. But luckily, I was actually like, I did all right with my GCSEs, got a load of A's and stuff. So I was, you know, you could say I was fairly smart and things like that, which was good. And I guess that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. What about like your parents? Like, how are things with those at that point?
It was going okay, man, with my parents.
Where are your parents from?
Yeah. So my dad's from Indonesia and my mum's from the UK. Yeah.
Cool. Do you think there's something inherently about being like the firstborn son in like a different country?
Yeah.
With like pressure, and because I've heard like Gary Vee, or Mosey, like they all talk about it.
It's a good question. I think there's something to like the immigrant mentality that you have that you see from your parents. So like my dad came from a village with kind of no electricity. He had like 9 brothers, like very poor rural Indonesia. Then he came over to the UK, no qualifications, nothing, and just worked his ass off to try and like, become, provide for his family and build a family. And the same for my mum. She came from a very like working class background. Although she was British, she had to work really hard to kind of like provide for us. So I think, again, Tate talks about this, like coming from poor parents that are good parents is actually a really good thing, because like they try and give you everything, but the things that they give you are not always like the physical things, but it's the attributes and the habits that they've built to obviously, build a family or come over from, a different country to make a life for you. And I think that that's really, really influenced me as well, because I'm so driven and I'm obviously hardworking, and like those are the attributes I want to display. I think a lot of that came from seeing my parents as a young kid.
100%. And what I think, I can't remember who says it. It might be 50 Cent. It might not be 50 Cent. I'm not sure. But poorest people always have the cleanest hearts.
Yeah.
And I grew up with my mum, and like they give you everything.
Exactly.
But it also breeds this like level of pressure.
Of course.
Where you're like, I need to provide, or I want to outwork this person, and I want to be able to give everyone everything back. And that whole like pressure is kind of like what drives you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think like whilst you're kicking off at school and just playing about, it's also partially due to like, having that having that status, having that like potential persona on yourself?
Yeah, I think so. I just always wanted to kind of be the center of attention, and I always wanted to play that kind of role. And maybe that came from my childhood. Yeah, and my parents. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they put any pressure on you though?
No. So weirdly, my parents, they wanted the best for me, but they were quite liberal, really. Like my mum she's not happy when I was getting in trouble at school and stuff like that. But they were like, as long as you work hard and you dedicate yourself, you can. I'm happy for you to do whatever you want, which I guess is really good. They were kind of like, they weren't trapping me or they weren't trying to do that, but they told me the value of hard work. They told me the value of getting an education. They told me the value of just really just applying myself. And I think that that's paid dividends now.
Yeah, for sure.
True. The thing is though, like from like a parent's perspective, if you've got a kid, all you want is the best for them. So like if you see them going down the route of not necessarily playing up, but like not maybe a traditional route, then it's hard for them to see where that could get to. So they're like, education, uni, school, education. Like I can sort of see it from that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's so many ways nowadays to just make money other ways that they might not necessarily have like noticed that, or they didn't live that life. So they're just like, you go uni, do this, do that.
Yeah, that whole uni pressure is mad.
Yeah,
mate. It's actually fucking dumb as well. It is dumb. I don't even care. Like, the government will give you a loan for X amount, but they won't give you a loan for anything else.
No, exactly. Yeah.
To go and get an education in a system which doesn't really give you too much value in terms of life experience. Yeah. Granted, like you go and live on your own, there are benefits. I'm not
of course,
yeah. But at the same time, like it just feels like a scam to me.
Yeah, I think unless you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer, or you're going into a profession, right? I think that's a really good time to, you want to make sure that your surgeon that's doing heart surgery on you is actually qualified, right?
There are obviously like massive positives to
there
that.
are huge positives to like heart surgery, but being good.
But like spending like X amount, 30 grand
exactly,
or whatever
30 grand on a business degree, right? Like think like what you could do with that kind of money. And maybe it's not even the money, like it's the time. Like obviously you're in sales, Slippy, and you know how good that is and lucrative it is. Like imagine going, instead of spending 3 years at university, you spent 3 years in a sales role, right? You're doing knocking doors, or you're going cold outbound and stuff like that. Do you know how much you're going to learn from doing that? Do you know how many skills you're going to develop? Do you know how much understanding of human psychology and human behavior you're going to get from doing that for 3 years? You're going to be more financially better off as well, because you're probably going to make some money doing it, compared to going to university and kind of getting drunk for 3 years. I mean, there's a huge difference, I think.
Isn't it mental that like you only start realising that now? Like how old are you?
I'm 28 now, yeah.
20, so like 27, Cal's 28. Like at this age is where you start realising that, and you look back and you're like, fucking hell, maybe I should have just done that, and that. Yeah. I would have definitely benefited more than going to like, say, university to study fucking business and team entrepreneurship. Like, do you know what I mean?
Exactly. But this is the thing about life. I don't think every decision you make is supposed to be optimal, and I don't think it's supposed to be optimized. I think you're supposed to make mistakes and do things and like kind of maybe go the hard way, because that's what builds character, that's what builds understanding, that's what builds lessons that you can then pass on to your other kids or friends or whatever it may be. So yeah, you do look back on it, you're like, that's a fucking waste of time, I wouldn't do that again. But you're actually grateful that you went through it at that time, because there's a lot of things that you learned.
100%. And university is good for like leaving your hometown. I would say that's got to be one of the biggest positives.
100%. Yeah, I think one of the best things you can do is probably leave your hometown as someone in their 20s.
Yeah.
And really just go out and experience the world. And, you know, having my dad be from Indonesia, I've been to a lot of countries now, so nearly 40 different countries, traveled a fair bit, which is amazing. And, you know, there's this stigma around travel that, oh yeah, you have to be this like weird hippie that has no drive that travels because you don't know what to do with your life.
Yeah.
I think the opposite. I think you should actually expose yourself to more things if you're a driven person, because you're going to get way more understanding of life. You're going to get perspective. You know, I've been to some of the villages that my dad was at when he was younger, and you just see like crazy amounts of poverty, or you see people just being happy despite having no money. You see how people operate right in different countries, how, you know, like the legal system works, right? You see how the police work, you know where to not get fucking arrested, right? What are the most dangerous countries where, you know, you don't put something dodgy in your bag, right? All of this kind of shit you get from traveling. And I think that builds you into someone that's like very personable and, you know, is able to connect with other people very easily. And I think that's something that one of my strengths is that, you know, I can go sit and have dinner with, you know, the lads at the pub and have 10 pints, but, you know, I could also go and like meet somebody from a completely different culture and get on. You know, I could go have dinner with maybe a very high level business person and still get on. And I think that's a skill that we all want to develop, is like being really dynamic, that whatever situation you're in, you're like, it's like Bruce Lee says, you're like water, right?
Yeah,
you can just adapt into any environment. And people are like, how does he do that? Well, you do it by having all these different experiences, I think.
Yeah, and also just being in the situation. Like playing sports when you're younger, like we mentioned earlier, you're always with different lads. So like, it doesn't matter what group you get put in, you're always going to be sound with the boys there.
Yeah.
But mate, I'm fucking interested. Like, when you went to Indonesia, I bet that was a fucking humbling experience, right?
Yeah. So my dad's dad's mum's got a house in the village, right? And when I was a kid, we lived there for like a year. And when I was a little kid, I was in the like bathroom, right? And there was actually a snake in the bathroom, right? And I shouted to my mum like, snake, cat. And like my mum comes in, and like basically the cat that we had was trying to fight off the snake. And there was a snake in the bathroom. I don't think it was coming at me, but obviously there's a snake and a cat in the same room, and I'm there as well. And I just look at it, right, as a little kid. I go, snake, cat. My mum comes in, and this snake and cat are having a fight in like in the village like bathroom, right? And I'm like, that's a bit crazy now when I think about it. And then there'll be like no electricity. It's like the toilet situation is like, you know, going to the toilet in a hole, right? It's just completely crazy. Like you wash yourself from a well with water and stuff like that. It's like crazy. Like now, like, you know, I like to go on luxury holidays, and I love like staying in nice places, and I compare like that to what, like, you know, my dad grew up with and stuff. It's fucking wild, man.
It is wild. Also, going to the toilet in a hole, by the way, I didn't know how to approach that situation. When I was in it, I was sort of thinking like, how the fuck am I approaching this?
How did you hit that?
Yeah, how do you do that?
I was literally looking at it thinking like, is this a squat? Like what's going on? Yeah. So it's just a squat, straight up squat.
Is it?
But like you done it like the aim
stand up version.
But like the hole ain't too big, so like the aim is like difficult, bro.
For fuck's sake.
And then you got to wash it with a gun. And you're just like, this is nuts.
Yeah, the gun's mad.
Yeah, it is mad. But you touched as well a minute ago on like how people out there are so happy with so little.
Yeah.
Like, when you saw that, did that switch your perspective at all?
Yeah, I think so. I think like we're very ungrateful as people sometimes, right? Especially like most of us, we're probably part of the top 2% of the population in the world. We never really have to worry about survival. We never really have to worry about money. You know, it's all just a case of we go on Instagram and we see somebody in the Maldives and we're like, shit, I'd love to be in the Maldives.
Yeah.
I'm at work today. That's shit. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the way that our perspective is just so like crazy when you think that there are people being bombed. Yeah. There are people that can't survive with food. There are people that are just trying to make food each day.
Yeah.
So I think that like we're very ungrateful as people sometimes, and like having those experiences makes you realize, you know what, man, my life's amazing. I don't really need anything else. Like, I'm sat on the podcast with you boys having fun. I don't have to worry about bombs being dropped on me. I don't have to worry about food. I don't have to worry about my family being, you know, unsafe. It is just a case of living day to day. But I think when you're too comfortable, what happens is like you make your own problems. And a lot of people in the modern day, they're kind of like, like I haven't really got any struggles, so let's make a problem out of this, right?
Self-sabotage.
It's self-sabotage, right? And like that's what you see now with all these people, like with their pronouns and like, you know, trying to make a thing of nothing, because there is no real challenge, there is no real struggle. And when there are no real problems, people create their own problems, right? Which is what you're seeing at the minute.
Brother, you're bang on. And also it's like, it gets to the point where it's just like, if you were to compare the two, it's like, it's almost like, come on, bro, fix up.
Exactly, yeah. You know I mean? Exactly. Do you think you'd be caring about your pronouns when you're in a trench in Ukraine? Yeah. No, you wouldn't, right?
Or like even on a basic level, it's just like, if you were doing everything that you knew was right for your body, like eating, training, sleeping, like everything in line with actually like performance, do you think you'd be even worrying about that? No, you'd probably be too busy, mate.
Exactly, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like, it's just, like society's just, it's gone too far for me, mate.
Yeah, I agree.
Like everything in line with just like the whole like victims mentality.
Yeah.
It's the only way I can put it. It's just too far for me.
The thing is, it's too easy. It's like a bandwagon, the victim mentality.
It's like people are like, oh, I've got ADHD, like I can't do this and that. I'm like, do you think anyone in Indonesia in those those villages has got ADHD? Nah, they're fucking out grabbing the food.
Yeah,
they're out washing.
They're on the
clothes.
rice fields, mate. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, regardless if you have it, just go and get it done.
Yeah.
I feel like this whole culture now is just too far that way for me.
Yeah, it's just gotten very soft, and I think that's shown like with COVID as well, right? Like the way that the government did stuff and how soft people were on letting things slide is crazy. Like I went to Egypt recently, and I was speaking with a taxi driver from Egypt, and he was like, I asked him about COVID, and he was like, what do you mean COVID? He was like, we've got real problems. He was like, I have to make money. He was like, he was working, he was out, masks, vaccine. He was like, what do you mean? He's like, I took some fucking herbs and made sure I was okay. I was like, I need to feed my family, right? So in Africa, COVID didn't exist, which is crazy. But in the modern society, it's very soft. No, you better stay inside, even though you're like a military age male that's probably healthy.
Super healthy.
Don't go outside, with a 99.9% survival rate. It's crazy, right? And you see like Sweden, which was basically natural immunity.
Yeah.
Everyone was fine, right? And no one talks about that in the media now. It's 100%. Fucking crazy.
Did you get the vaccine?
I didn't, no.
No, I didn't either.
No.
Cal?
Yeah, I got one.
Oh, boo. Boo.
Yeah, I did get one of them.
The thing is, you got one out of necessity for work.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think a lot of people did.
Even that's harsh though. Like even the whole like you're not going to be able to go on holiday unless you get a vaccine. Like it's when everyone's still allowed to go on holiday.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think for a lot of people that worked as well, I spoke to some of my dad's friends that are very much in like hospitality and stuff like that have to, otherwise they can't earn a living. They took it, but they actually didn't want to because they were like, this is a bad, and I know that some people have had some bad side effects from it. So, I think, it should have been more freedom of choice. Like I'm not against people that take the vaccine. I'm not against people that don't. I'm against the fact that people were forced to do it when they didn't want to do it. I think that's the problem that most people have.
I don't like the shame element.
Yeah.
Like I was getting shamed by people for not getting the vaccine to the point where like I wouldn't even bring it up because I was just like, if they asked me, I was like, one of them things, like, because I couldn't be bothered to have a row about it.
Yeah.
Like, if it's my body, if I don't want to take something, I won't take it.
Yeah.
But it's actually hilarious because like, obviously didn't take the vaccine, but I'll happily do some tests.
That's the right jab though.
But like from my perspective, like that shows like how much I don't trust the mainstream narrative.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it is one of those things. But let's pull back onto the story.
Yeah.
So what happens at football and then what happens after school?
Yeah, so I was playing football and I was trying to get a scholarship at like 16, 17 and unfortunately I just didn't get it. I just wasn't good enough at the time to get that. So I was actually quite heartbroken because I played my whole kind of childhood playing football and really wanted to make it as a professional.
Tough moment,
so,
right?
Yeah, it was a tough moment, man.
So what happens? You go to get the contract because a few of our friends play football. They've told us the same story.
Yeah.
Like Scholars Day, you all go in, didn't you?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and I did like played for, because at the time I was playing for I think a couple of teams, so I was like trialing out at different teams to try and get a scholarship, and they were just like, no, like unfortunately, like it's bad news, you haven't got the scholarship and stuff. And after that, I didn't really know what to do because you go from playing really elite level of football, 4 or 5 days a week, to okay, like you're on your own now, like go join a local team, right? And I was kind of like, I wasn't ready to give up on that dream at that time. So I actually moved to a sporting college in Gloucester called Hartbury. They've actually created some of the best rugby players now for England. So people like Ellis Genge, one of my friends, Lewis Ludlow. It was a big rugby college. So obviously went there to kind of combine studies because my mum and dad said get an education with football. And I was able to play like probably the highest level football you can that's like not academy. So it's decent standard, like a lot of ex kind of city academy Centre of Excellence people, and I did that for 2 years, which was great. And that's where I kind of really got my passion for fitness, because I was surrounded by all these big, huge rugby players, right, that were getting all the girls that were 6 foot, that were really confident.
Mental in Bristol, by the way.
Yeah.
It's mental that the rugby boys get the girls.
Oh, they do, man.
Mate, I went to
Horrible.
UWE,
yeah,
and obviously play football, and when I went up there, like joined the futsal team because like
Futsal.
I think it's futsal. So let me pull this back. There's a story to it. 11-a-side trials were a night after a closing party.
Yeah, fair.
And let's just say, like, I had company.
You had it off.
And I had company in the morning.
Okay.
So I chose the company over the football trials.
Fair play.
And then the only thing left to do was play indoor football. Indoor football. I know, it might not even be called futsal. What's it called?
It is futsal.
The heavy ball.
It is futsal. I just forgot that you did futsal.
I know, mate. But I had to play a sport
The
there.
thing is, you're actually probably quite decent at that.
They didn't have a boxing team there either. Like the boxing, like it was just shit. But yeah, so joined the football team or whatever, the indoor football team, we call it that. And you get there and, mate, the girls, they love the rugby players over the football teams. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
It's like everyone goes mad for rugby in Bristol at the universities. Like everyone goes watch the varsity games. The footballers get no attention.
Nah, bro.
It's mental, isn't it?
Zero, bro. Like, I swear, like down south, it's all rugby, right? There's a lot of rugby.
Not in Bournemouth, mate.
Not in Bournemouth, no.
Mate, everything's football, mate.
Really?
Like rugby's not even a thing, mate.
Really? What about Bournemouth Sevens?
Yeah, like it's
that is for as a festival, yeah.
Okay. But like rugby at school, no one plays rugby.
Yeah, okay.
Like, you have a rugby team, and probably say like 70% of the lads don't play rugby outside of school.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, it's mental. So anyway, you're saying like these rugby lads.
Yeah, there was all these big rugby lads there, and I was kind of quite insecure at the time. I was like quite skinny. I'd obviously come off the back of not becoming a professional. I was short, so I was like, right, I need to fucking get in the gym, man, because I was like, I'm not confident enough to basically talk to girls and make friends and all this kind of shit. So yeah, I just dedicated myself for a good 2-3 years to just really training and all this kind of stuff, and that's kind of what basically gave me the spark to launch my business.
So is this where you first start lifting weights?
Yeah, so I'd lifted a little bit, but I was about 16, 17. This is when I properly started to train and stuff in like the sports gym and stuff.
How strange is it when you first get into it at 16 years old?
Ah, man, it's crazy. I made tons of mistakes, man.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised, but the form was horrendous.
CT Fletcher, arms every day. Guys sourced out his mind.
Yeah. I was doing chest every day, man.
I do buys 5 times a week,
man.
What's that weird story about CT Fletcher recently?
So he had like I think he had a triple bypass.
Yeah, crazy.
Or like something crazy with his heart, and then he got a new heart.
Yeah.
Because he was on Rogan's.
Yeah.
And he basically just came back, recovered like super quick compared to what he would have, as you would expect from him anyway. But I think, if I'm right in quoting it, like he thinks he's got a little Chinese lady's heart.
That's it. Yeah.
And I think he was having like a vision of her or something like that.
That's crazy.
But like, imagine that's actually true, considering how fucking dense she is.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah,
that is nuts. Or he's just gone loopy.
One of the two,
mate. It could happen though. The thing.
If you boys got someone else's heart, you'd be really curious to whose heart.
Without doubt,
I want to know that.
Yeah, I would have to find out.
Before
Otherwise,
having it, you'd have to find out before as well.
You'd probably start fucking piecing things together, wouldn't you? And just being like,
you'd have to find out before, mate.
I
ain't committing to that.
I know, yeah.
Fucking junkie's heart.
Junkie's heart.
Yeah, not the one, mate.
Yeah, but like you would be curious. Like, your mind would be racing about it because,
absolutely.
Like, especially imagine you started feeling like just random emotions.
Yeah.
That you hadn't felt before. But that would all be in the mind, I presume, anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so like you start hitting the gym hard.
Yeah, start hitting the gym hard.
Did you get obsessed?
Yeah, I was obsessed, man. Like,
yeah.
And I think this is a big thing with obsession, is a lot of it can be driven by like maybe negative emotions, right? So you see like people that go through breakups, or, you know, maybe you have bad things happen in your life. You get obsessed with like channeling that energy into something, because you either channel it into something good or you channel it into something bad. And for me, it was channeling the energy from, you know, not becoming a professional footballer, from feeling really insecure, not feeling good about myself, to just getting fucking wham in the gym, right? And like,
and it helps, right?
It helps, man. Like people say like, oh, like negative emotions are bad. They're fucking great.
Yeah.
Like, not all the time.
Depending depending on how, like Jack said, depending if you use it as fuel.
Exactly.
Tate talks about it all the time. He's like, the best fuel is a relationship breakup.
Yeah.
It's like, after a breakup, what does the girl do? She gets the gym, she gets in good shape. What does the lad do? Hits the gym, gets in good shape.
Yeah,
Standard.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a good way of dealing with it. So yeah, I was I hit the gym and I started to get some really good results, to be honest. And that's when like I got a lot of, you could say, attention from people saying, hey, like, how do I get into shape? You know, the standard, like, I'm going on holiday, all this kind of stuff. And gave me the inspiration to set my business, basically.
Is this whilst you're at college?
Yeah, so I was at college, and then after college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do after. So I took like a year out and I traveled to Southeast Asia, New Zealand, Australia.
Nice.
Which was amazing. So some pretty crazy stories from like Thailand. I got in the ring in Koh Phi Phi.
Did you?
Boxing.
Were you steaming?
Because steaming. I'd had 5 changs, bro.
Them changs will get you, won't they?
They do, man. Like, some of them are strong and some of them weak. Like the percentage in them just varies so much.
Yeah.
And they send you loopy, man. Seriously.
So you got in the old ring.
Got on the ring, right? So in CoPP, there's like this place where you can kind of like fight, and it's a lot of like travellers fighting each other. And what happened with me was I was supposed to fight like this Aussie guy, like another kind of traveller. He pulled out, and a fucking Thai guy got into the ring.
Yeah, that's not what you need.
That's not what you need. So he gets him like no helmet, nothing like that. The guy's about 5'4", and he's like, yeah, let's have it off sort of thing. And like I start shitting myself.
They're tough guys as well.
They're fucking nails, bro.
Yeah.
But I've obviously given it the big one, haven't I? I've given it the big one to be like, yeah, I'll get on stage.
Are there lads there with you?
Yeah, my boys, birds? A couple of my boys are there with me.
Any
Obviously,
girls?
there's birds in the crowd.
Man.
So obviously you can't look like a pussy to these birds in the crowd, right? I can't just take the head guard off and walk out. Look like a coward, right? So I got in the ring, and to be honest, I got the shit kicked out of me 3 rounds.
Fair play, mate.
I did it, right? Like I still stayed in there.
At least you got in there, mate.
You got in there, and to be honest, like after I finished the fight, people came up to me and like, man, like fair play for you getting in the ring with that Thai guy. Like you have balls and stuff like that. And there was a level of respect despite the fact I got my ass kicked, right? So
mate, any lad that's like normal will rate that.
Yeah, exactly.
Just be like, that's fair, mate. Like you've actually had a tough card there, tough hand to play,
Facts.
mate.
Like, yeah.
How bad was it, the ass kicking?
Oh man, so I didn't have a gum shield or anything like that because it's proper rogue, right? It's like a feral fucking fight, right? So there was one time where I dropped my guard and he's actually sent a kick to my face and he's gone boom and it smacked me in the teeth and I don't know how I still kept my teeth. My gums were bleeding, but like I could have lost all of my teeth, bro.
Mate, I would have wanted to bash him up if he hit my teeth out.
I was more shocked than anything after it happened.
Imagine coming out of that with like 4 teeth missing or something like
that.
I
know, mate. I mean, the day after was the
worst. Like this little cunt, mate.
The day after was the worst. I woke up and I felt like I'd been hit by a train.
Yeah.
Like, all my shins were bruised. Like my face was in bits.
You're thinking it ain't worth it.
Headache and shit like that. I'm sweating in this like fucking shack in Thailand. It's like 40 degrees. I'm like, fucking, what did I do last night? I've had a whole bucket of alcohol.
Them changs to get you, boy.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what have I done?
Mate, the thing is, those experiences are worth it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and also like, as long as nothing's too damaged, it's not too bad.
Exactly, man.
So when you're traveling and whatnot, are you doing the coaching simultaneously at this point?
Yeah, so I hadn't really launched at this point, so my passion for fitness kind of continued. And I went to Australia, actually, to Brisbane, and I met a really cool guy there called Jimmy, and he was like a DJ in Brisbane, and he was like really well connected, knew all the birds, he like knew all the parties, and he kind of took me under his wing as a guy that was traveling. He was like, look, man, I'll show you around, you can hang out with me. Had some crazy parties with him, went to all the festivals and all this kind of shit. And
any party in particular that stands out?
So we went to Future Music Festival. So This is the first festival I've actually ever been to. And man, it was in the sun in Brisbane, hot, like loads of hot Aussie girls, amazing music. And I remember listening to Alesso play, We Can Be Heroes. Still one of the happiest moments of my life, man. Just there in the sun with like, you know, drunk, having fun, like fucking unreal, man. Yeah.
How good are those moments like with the boys that you can recall on? I've got one where we're in fucking Ibiza.
Yeah.
You know that one?
Yeah. Amazing.
That might have been a bit messy, that one.
We got a couple. There was one at not Festival. What's that festival?
There is one at Festival as well. It's a
Netsky. We were like 16 and we listened to Netsky. We used to love Netsky.
We did our first bit of MDMA.
Yeah, and mate, that was
at 16 as well. Like you can't really beat that, can you?
That was proper euphoric.
Netsky as well. But yeah, like fucking those memories with the boys.
Yeah.
Like whenever I look back at them, like I cherish them.
Yeah, those are the deathbed like memories, right? Like you're on your deathbed and you're like, shit, man. Like let's look back at my life. That's those things that you remember, the crazy shit that you did, right? Like you don't remember the boring stuff or the times that you stayed in. You remember all this fun stuff that you do. So I think like for me especially, it's like having every few months is having just a crazy weekend. Like I just got back from Ibiza with a load of friends, got some mad stories and
hit us with one then.
What's that?
Hit us with one then.
I can't talk about them on the pod. But you know what I mean? They're ones that you look back on and you're like, fuck, that was great, man. I loved it.
Yeah. Mate, I think like partying with the boys and stuff, it has to be up there with like one of the funnest things to do.
Yeah.
Just like when you've got boy time as well.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You know, you're having a bit of a heart to heart with your pal.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't even have to be in the best place, man. Like, you could just be at the pub and there could be 5 of your best mates there, or 3 of you, and you just sat there chopping beers, having the crack, winding each other up, bantering each other, doing stupid shit. And like those are sometimes the best nights, man.
100%.
Like, you know, you underappreciate, like it's never where you are, right? It's never, you know, the venue or anything like that. Sometimes it has, you know, a bit of an influence. It's who you're with, man. That's the most important thing.
So true.
And it's the connection, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's the connection.
Yeah.
Like it sounds lame, mate, but like the camaraderie.
Exactly.
Like all being there, like with each other, having banter, like having a laugh, but also like just having that level of understanding of each other where like you could say anything and it don't really matter.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So obviously, mate, did a year traveling.
Yeah, did a year traveling, and then I went to university after. So I thought it's time to probably get an education and stuff. So
30 Gs.
I went to university in central London, and I think in the first year I was kind of like, right, like I really want to maybe launch a business or do something fitness wise, right? Because I'd got back from traveling, loads of people had seen it that I know, and they were like, man, you're in great shape, like you've transformed your body a lot, like how do I get in shape for holiday? More and more of this was coming. So I then like was sat on my mate's sofa actually one summer, and we were kind of like, right, let's have a look at like websites. And he was like, you can get this website for like 99p, build it over the summer, share loads of your fitness stuff, blog, whatever it may be. So I worked on it all summer. He helped me out. I did like loads of YouTube tutorials on how to set a WordPress website up and all this bollocks. And then at the end of the summer, I basically had this website which I could launch that could take payments. So I created a few fitness packages that people could buy. And then what I did is I got all my mates on like Facebook to share like the website when it went. And at the time it got like 500 likes, man. And like I was like, fucking hell, like it blew up in my local area. And then I got this notification on my phone, PayPal, and like someone had paid me like 75 quid on the first night for a fitness package. And I remember I was still living at home. I ran upstairs to my mum and I was like, Mum, like I've made some money from, doing this. And she didn't really know what was going on, but I was just so happy. Yeah. And then like this imposter syndrome kicked in. I was like, shit, I've got to learn how to coach people now. I'm a fraud. What's going on?
Mate, but the thing is, that moment, I've had one of those moments.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a moment of euphoria.
Yeah.
You're like, mate, I will always remember, like, I made a certain amount of money with the first business, like in revenue.
Yeah.
And when I hit that, mate, I've never had a feeling like it, because as soon as I hit that, I thought to myself, like, oh, fuck, like, I knew I was going to make it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, granted, like, it didn't pan out like I wanted it to.
Sure.
But, like, that moment in that specific time and where I was at, like, I realised, like, oh, shit, this ain't rocket science.
Yeah, yeah.
So that £75, was that your price point back then?
Yeah, that was my price point. $100.
Single plan.
Yeah, it was like a 3-month plan.
3-month plan.
75 quid.
It's not a bad deal, that.
Not a bad deal, man. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. So yeah, that was the plan, and then from there it kind of like snowballed, to be honest. I was like, this is great. I kind of had this proof of concept to start that people would pay me for what I know. Built it throughout university, which I did for 3 years. And at the time I finished, I wasn't kind of at the point where I was earning enough money. So I went into the corporate world and then started running the business alongside the corporate world.
That's quite a bold move, right?
Yeah.
To move into the corporate world. Do you think that was like external pressures or like?
Yeah, a little bit. And I think it was because I'd always been good at interviews, and I got good grades at university. People could see that I wasn't, an idiot and
What
stuff.
did you study?
So I studied international business management.
Cool.
Right. So quite a generic degree, but I came across very well on interviews, and a lot of people were saying, look, you apply for this, you'll get this job. And yeah, I got a good job coming out of university in central London.
What was that doing?
Yeah, so I was working sales for a telecoms company.
In Canary Wharf?
Yeah, so it was at St Paul's.
Okay,
I lived in Canary Wharf, so it was close. But yeah, I was working for a big telecoms company. We worked with clients like Visa, MasterCard, all these guys to basically like sell them telecommunications, whether that's circuits, cloud, internet and all this boring shit, right? So yeah, that's kind of what I did straight out of it.
How did you find the fast-paced lifestyle in London?
Yeah, so when I was in London, it was pretty crazy. So I was having to wake up early and then obviously take the tube to work and then I was doing a full day at work, and I was coming back, and then there were social events going on, but I also had the business to run because I still wanted to do that. So it's probably one of the busiest periods of my life, right? Like waking up at 6 a.m., getting ready, having some breakfast, then going to work, right? Trying to stay healthy with eating and all this kind of stuff because fitness was a priority for me. And then obviously getting home, going to the gym, and then working on my business till like midnight, 1 o'clock, repeating the next day. And it actually got to the point where I was actually quite miserable because I was in like this flat. I only had a room in Canary Wharf, had a really nice balcony overlooking London. But the issue was that like I wasn't really going out to socialize. I didn't really have much time, to do that. I was always kind of like struggling to get the work done and stuff like that. And I started even just drinking a little bit more than I should. Like on Fridays, I would just get a pack of beer and drink. So I was
on your Todd.
On my Todd, yeah, because I was a bit stressed, man. And like,
it's tough, isn't it?
I got to this point actually, and this was like a few months in. I was overlooking like the balcony, and I was sat outside. I just had a few drinks or whatever, and I was like, I'm fucking miserable, man. I'm sat here like I don't have any intimate relationships. I've not really got any strong friendships. I'm working all of the time. I'm not doing what I like working, and I just feel shit. And I just thought this needs to change.
And also, like, the whole London lifestyle, like, it's glamorized, but it's actually crap.
Yeah.
Like, getting on the tube in the morning, like,
it's horrible,
for an
bro.
hour. I did it, mate. And, like, you've got like these black bogies. And like, you know, because the air's so polluted, it's horrible.
It's minging, man. Yeah.
And then like you're sat on the tube and like no one looks at you, no one smiles at you. Like you smile at someone, they put their head down. Like, you eat a sandwich on the tube and people get annoyed at you. Like the whole stigma and like the whole energy just feels like. It just feels quite
people
depressive.
are so miserable and so angry as well.
Why?
Sometimes, man.
As well, like what I get it. Like no one wants to be on the tube going to work in the morning, but like. You can just say hello or morning or smile or like
just smile. That's
just not look angry at me. Like,
and I mean, especially where I lived in Canary Wharf. It was just soulless, man. It was just like bankers that were like doing 12 to 16 hours a day, probably doing cocaine at work to keep themselves awake, right? Then coming back, sleeping for a few hours and going doing that again, repeat. And like it's like they're not engaged with real life. It's just like this robotic thing that's happening. And I realized for me that wasn't the way I wanted to live. I was like, no, fuck this.
So did you hit like a point where it was like might have been burnout, or did you have like a point where there was like had to be like an ultimatum and you were like, I've got to do this, I've got to do that?
Yeah, I think it was that balcony kind of scenario that I mentioned. I was sat on the balcony, I was miserable, and I remember I just dropped my head in my hands and I was like, this can't go on anymore. So I think the next day I went in and I just handed my notice in at work. I was like, I'm not doing this, right? And I said, I'm going to try and make my business work somehow. So I quit after 2 months, and this was towards the end of the year. So then I started freelancing alongside running my business, because I thought, right, if I've got more time to myself, I'm going to be able to build the business alongside, doing some freelance work instead of doing it alongside a 9 to 5, which is obviously quite time intensive.
When you quit, obviously you're getting paid all right. I imagine.
Yeah.
Did you like work out your burn rate?
I didn't, man. So I had a little bit of money saved, but not much. But I was young and naive, man. I was just like, I'm going to make this fucking happen, whatever, right? So I quit. But then after like a few months, like my business didn't pick up as quickly as I wanted. I didn't have much savings. I was burning through money, and I was broke, bro. Like there was 1 month where I actually couldn't afford my rent, or it was going to be the next month I couldn't afford my rent. So luckily one of my friends actually had a vending machine business, right? And he said to me, he's like, look, bro, I know you need some cash. I'll give you some cash in hand to basically drive this van around like the south of London, like Brighton, where you boys are from. Basically going to like...
We in Brighton, mate.
Bournemouth, sorry, like around that area.
We definitely don't look like we're from Brighton.
No. I saw the tight shorts, I thought that.
Nah, bro, you got the wrong guys.
I'm joking, boys. So down south towards Brighton and shit like that. And going into like warehouses, bus stations, basically filling vending machines. But I had to wake up at 4 a.m. to do this. So I was waking up at 4 a.m, filling these vending machines, putting chocolates into these vending machines, putting coffee into the coffee machines, finishing at like 4 p.m, dropping the van off, then going to the gym and then working on my business, right? So it was like another situation where I was like really like stressed out from working a lot. But I started to see like the end in sight, because after doing this for a good few months, my business started to pick up, and I was able to basically quit the vending machine thing. But yeah, again, that was another like 3-4 months of just graft, man.
Your energy must have been zapped.
Yeah, and also no one sees, like, they only see the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
So like now you've like the biggest fitness influencer on Twitter, or from the UK or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I didn't see when you were fucking packing chocolate bars, also eating probably like a cream of rice, and
exactly,
thinking like, I want to eat this chocolate like at 4 a.m. in the morning until like 4 p.m. training, and then doing planning until like, I don't know, 10 p.m. or whatever it is.
That's it, man. And like a lot of people say to me now, they're like, oh man, you're doing well. You're traveling a lot. You're doing all this kind of stuff. I was like, well, man, like you didn't see the days where I was grafting, and doing all that stuff. You didn't see
struggling.
The 4 a.m. kind of wake ups. You didn't see where I couldn't make rent. You didn't see the days that I didn't have any good relationships and stuff, and I was locking myself away to work. Nobody sees that stuff, right? They see the glamorous stuff on Instagram. But that's part of the journey. It's like no one is ever an overnight success, right? It takes 5-10 years for you to suddenly come out and be this guy that's doing well, but there's years and years of graft that's gone before that to get you to where you are.
And also like putting all your chips on the table, right? It's just going all in, mate. Like,
and I went all in, man, and that was it. So quite interesting.
So tell us, mate. So obviously vending machine, that sort of went to us one side, and you started focusing on the business. Like, how does it develop from there?
Yeah, so it developed from there. I think it was COVID started to hit at this point, right? And it was just for COVID. And
so how old are you at this point when you make the full transition?
Probably about, it was 3 years ago.
23, 24?
Yeah, about 3 years ago. So it's about 24, 25.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was at this point, and the business starts to pick up because COVID hits, right? And there's no personal trainers in the gym, but everybody's online. So I started posting tons and tons of content on Instagram. I was doing a lot of these kind of swipe workouts and videos in my garden, right? When it was sunny and shit, like... And people, I was getting some good engagement, started to get a lot of clients come through that want to be trained, right? Because everyone's at home and they're bored. And then what happened after that is I started a Twitter account, right? So I saw this guy called Ed Lattimore, who's one of the OGs on there. I saw him posting some wisdom stuff. So I thought, I quite like this. Like, he's posting some self-improvement shit on Twitter. I then joined Twitter, and it's now the platform that I'm biggest on, right? Because I just went all in on that, which is crazy.
Also, like, going to Twitter at that point, like, there's no one there.
There wasn't many people there, man. There was a couple of fitness accounts, but that was it, bro.
Yeah, like, it's a good opportunity to seize, right? Because like, when there's not too many people on it, it means that like it's easier for you to like stand out.
Exactly.
How did you find though, like, putting yourself out there? Because like, obviously I've transitioned over to Twitter this year with everything in line with like closing and whatnot.
Yeah.
And like, you can get carried away sometimes on there.
Yeah.
But then also like setting the boundaries for yourself, and then also like trying to remain real. Yeah. It's quite a difficult like balance, if that makes sense. So like, how do you cope with that when you first get on there?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, man, when it starts, it's hard because you do, as much as people say you don't care what people think, everybody cares what people think. Of course they do, right? Mate, yeah. Of course you do, right? And you only again build up that tolerance to, you know, people and bullshit and criticism once you've gone through it, right? Like, you have to go through the reps. So I'd post some stuff out, and there was one tweet that I did was about mental health on Mental Health Day, and it was something along the lines of, you know, before you self-diagnose yourself with mental health issues, make sure you're, you know, surrounding yourself with good people, eating a good diet, and all this kind of shit. It was just, I just tweeted my thoughts this one day. Yeah. It fucking blew up, man. 100,000 likes. Wow. And my phone was going off, and people were sending me like threats via the DM. People were booking in calls and like threatening me, and like, it was crazy, bro, because like this whole victim side of Twitter came out, like the mentally ill side.
How did you feel when like people were threatening you?
I was shitting myself, mate. I was because I was not used to this, right? So I was basically like, I just turned the notifications off on my phone, and I remember I was at my mate's house, and it kept going off like every 2 minutes. He's like, "Mate, what's going on?" I was like, "Well, I kind of went viral on Twitter with this tweet," and he's like, "All right." And it was just tons and tons of crazy messages.
What sort of threats you getting?
There were just people like, they were actually looking back at all of my old tweets. So they go back to my old tweets, and they would be like, "Oh, look, like you're this, you're that, you said this." And there'll be old tweets from back there where I'll be like calling my mate gay, right? Like as a joke. And then someone will be calling me out going, "You're a homophobe." And I'm like, and then sharing it, I'm like, what the hell? Like, so I was like, this is crazy. Like, I'm calling my mate gay as a joke. Like,
how much time must they have in their hands to work through every single tweet of yours? Like, exactly. You've got 4,000 tweets.
And these tweets were like years back, bro. So they'd obviously come back years to find anything that they could kind of get me on because this tweet went viral. And it's what you see now with people getting cancelled. It's like
it happened to Kevin Hart, didn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh yeah, it did as well, didn't it?
Yeah, mate, it's weird. Those people are always like losers as well. Like,
yeah.
They are like they're like fighting a battle which like doesn't need to be fought.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, well, if you're doing that, like, how much time do you actually have on your hands?
Exactly. Yeah.
But I'm interested, bro. So obviously, like, you know, COVID happens, you start making a transition over to Twitter. Yeah. Coaching must seriously develop at this point, right?
Yeah, exactly, man. So I started getting onto Twitter, and I also found that there was a lot of like high-level business people on there, right? Like, when people are bored, like these business guys, obviously they're getting hammered on LinkedIn, and that's more business stuff, but they go onto Twitter to see news, right? And they want to see opinions, whether it's political, what's going on in the world. And I started getting some traction of guys that were running businesses, that were executives and stuff, that started to become my clients. And I was like, this could be quite lucrative here, actually training some high-level business people. They've got a great network. Obviously, they've got money to pay for this kind of stuff. But also, like, they had this like specific mindset that I really related to, like the high-performer mindset, right? Of, you know, these guys are trying to provide for their family. They work, you know, 60, 70-hour weeks, like for years, just so they can kind of be a success. There's something very inspiring about people that do that kind of stuff to me anyway, and I resonated with that mindset. So I was like, shit, I want to work with these guys. So started working with entrepreneurs, man, and I got a few clients that were doing really well in business, and now that spiraled to me kind of working with them all over the world, which is crazy.
So before that, was it like broad and then you niched down?
Very much so, yeah. So I started out like kind of just working with the general kind of students and stuff when I was at university. Went into the corporate world, started working with like your working professional that works 9 to 5, and then it transitioned to like execs and entrepreneurs.
As it transitions to the execs and entrepreneurs, did you ever get like imposter syndrome that you're running a business, like coaching them, and they are like serious businessmen?
Yeah, there was at the start that I'd go on, like before calls, I'd go on, I'd feel a bit nervous. Yeah. So I'm like, oh shit, I got a call with Ryan today. Ryan owns like a £50 million business. Fucking hell. I'm like, shit, I better not fuck up for him. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like that. But then after
Ryan also eats Cheetos.
Yeah, exactly. I have to tell Ryan to fucking do his workout.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I've got to tell Ryan to stop eating so much.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the interesting thing about working with these guys is, as much as they are a success in what they do and very high level people that I respect, there are parts of them that they're just general humans as well, right? That they've got flaws, and there's things that they struggle with, and also there's things that they need help with, right? Like a lot of the big CEOs have huge egos and stuff like that, but when you get to know them, they're just as vulnerable as, you know, any other person would be when it comes to certain habits that they've got, or, you know, the way they feel about their body and things like that. And it felt good to kind of help them through a lot of the challenges that maybe they haven't shared before to other people.
Yeah. Mate, and also every bloke is kind of the same when it comes to like the core values. Like, we need good food, which is fuel, good sleep, and a training regime.
And like, structure.
Yeah, like I've met someone, I work for him, and like, you know, he took the company public, serious entrepreneur, knows his stuff inside out when it comes to like lending. And like, mate, I you know, I looked up to him, like still like really respect him, and like in terms of what he does and how he approaches things and everything about him, I rate with like business. But like, mate, lunchtimes, what do? We go and box. Lunchtimes, what does he go and do? He goes for a run. Like, he does everything normal that like exactly. every other lad does. And it's just like, oh, you inflate this image because of the success with like monetary stuff and business, but like in reality, everything surrounding that is the exact same.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I can imagine with your clients, like, they're probably the exact same to that.
Very similar, man. Yeah. You know, like maybe there's a few different habits. Maybe they like to go to nicer restaurants, or they play golf a bit more than other people. But at the end of the day, like, they just do the same things as we do.
Get your steps in,
maybe
boys.
Work a bit more, but that's it. Yeah.
As your clientele sort of developed into those entrepreneurs, like, how did you develop as a businessman? Because I know you say it's like coaching, but it is running a business you're doing.
It's really interesting. So like one of my clients that's now become like my mentor / kind of business partner, we'd always talk kind of like fitness, and he obviously loved business, and he's like, hey man, like if you ever need like help with business, let me know. And he runs a business doing like 70 million a year. So I'm like, well, if you're going to give me free advice, I'm going to fucking listen, right? So yeah, he's helped me so much with my business, man. We catch up every week, and he talks to me about like how you should structure things. Like, we're obviously hiring now as well. So we've got kind of like 4 staff or 4 people that work for us. So like how to hire properly, how to incentivize them with bonus, kind of the company culture that you should have as you start to build and scale. When's the right time to hire? When's the right time to increase your prices? Like all of this stuff that I'd never really known. He's helped me run things like a proper business. And I think that's helped me a lot over the past year as I've started to scale things up.
What a nice relationship that is. You coach him fitness, he coaches you business.
That's our relationship. Yeah, like literally, like I'll coach him fitness. I'm like, man, have you done your fucking workouts today and shit like that? And he's like, mate, have you worked your ass off today? And we even do this challenge where he was like, right, we're going to do an 80-day challenge. And like the fitness challenge for me is I have to do a certain amount of workouts per week, stick to my diet. And yours is right, you need to make as much money as possible in this time. I fucking love that.
I love that, man.
It's sick. Like, we text each other each day. I'm like, he's like, yeah, you signed any clients today? I'm like, yeah. Then I'm like, you done your workouts today? He's like, oh no, I'm slacking. I'm like, mate, you need to get on it. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like we're keeping each other accountable, which I love.
Oh mate, I love that, mate. That's sick.
Yeah,
that's the definition of healthy competition.
Yeah, it's healthy, bro. Yeah,
100%, and also healthy within your niches,
100%.
Which makes it even better because like you're just literally utilizing each other to grow collectively.
Exactly. Yeah,
bro. I am interested though. Obviously, look, like it seems like the coaching and everything's come along in terms of like the development. So like, how does that kind of transition with the business side of things?
Yeah. So what specifically would you?
So like obviously when you initially started coaching, you had a £75 program over a 3-month spell. Like, I can imagine the product now is significantly different, right?
Yeah. So we have like 3, 6, and 12-month programs depending on what you have, and now it's not just a meal plan and training program, which what it was. It's very much high touch coaching. So we do everything from like health tests to kind of like blood work to like gut health testing, all of that kind of stuff, as well as sleep optimization and all this kind of stuff.
Brother, how big is gut health?
Huge, bro.
Is gut health the biggest understated performance enhancement when it comes to
massive?
Your body?
Like gut affects everything. It affects your brain, it affects how you feel each day, affects your motivation, your clarity, all this kind of stuff. So if you're a high level business person that has to make big decisions, if your gut health isn't on point, you're not going to make as good decisions, right? So getting an understanding of your gut microbiome and what you should be eating for your gut is really important.
Once you've got that understanding though, like how do you optimize that? Optimize your gut, because like and also, do you know what the crazy thing as well is? I just thought in my head is like I don't really know a lot about gut health, to be honest with you. I've heard a little bit about it on podcasts and whatnot. But like, how do we not know about gut health? Like in terms of just fitness in general.
I want to whip out a conspiracy here, mate. They don't want you to know about it.
It's probably true, mate. You are probably right there.
Because like, you know, like it's the same with like pharma.
Yeah.
Like big pharma don't want you to know that if you improve your sleep, you train every day, you go on a program and you eat clean, a lot of the problems that you have or think you have probably would be eradicated.
Yeah.
True.
Like, so the focal point isn't sort yourself out in terms of like what you can control. It's take this will help you because there's profit to it.
Exactly.
I think it's the same with the food side of things.
For sure. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's awareness, right? Like if everybody was aware that their gut health is terrible because they eat a junk food and shit diet, not a lot of people would be going to McDonald's, bro. They wouldn't be eating the shit that is on the shelves and stuff at the, in certain places. And obviously that means that the food industry is taking a big hit and stuff, and they're getting less money. So yeah, it's really about awareness. It's like they don't want people to be aware of how bad certain things are for you.
What are a couple of ways you can optimize your gut health?
Yeah, so one of the things we do, and it's very specific, is doing a gut health test. So everybody's going to have a different gut microbiome based on their like genetics and the food that they eat and stuff like that. So you take a gut microbiome test, and it actually comes back with like recommendations of like what foods you should avoid, what superfoods are good, what's going to help you. So you can actually then make the tweaks off of the back of that into your diet. And obviously this is what we help our clients with, is adjust their diet based off the test to then eat better. And we had one client which was crazy. He was struggling to lose weight on a certain amount of calories. We did a gut health test, came back with some foods that he should be eating and avoiding. He switched his diet with some certain foods and he started losing weight, which is crazy. So his digestion, inflammation improved. Obviously the adherence to his diet probably improved as well, and that's why he can lose the weight, but it had a significant difference.
Bro, I actually struggle with like digestion.
Yeah.
So like it's probably why I know about, well, probably why I've looked into it in a bit more detail.
Yeah.
So I take like digestive enzymes,
yeah, nice.
probiotics, like apple cider vinegar.
Good shit.
Just the basics, mate.
Yeah.
And like I've noticed when I don't take that stuff, like in terms of bloating, it's increased
Big
quite
difference.
dramatically.
Yeah, yeah.
Mate, those supplements cost about 50 quid a month.
Yeah.
Like think how ridiculous that is.
That's around the drinks, man, in London. Easy.
Mate, it's like
True.
It's like 50.
Or a water at a Schweier,
Them waters will get you, bro.
Yeah, fuck it up.
But like 40, 50 quid. And it's like, everyone should be taking this.
Sure. Yeah.
Like if it helps that much, like personally, like it's just like, it's almost like when it comes to like pharmacology and when it comes to like supplementation, everything should be personalized to the individual, of course.
Absolutely, yeah.
But like people that don't look into that, they're like, yeah, I get my vitamins from Sainsbury's. I'm like,
yeah,
you're bantering it. Yeah. Oh yeah, don't worry, I take a multivitamin from Sainsbury's. It costs 50p.
Yeah.
Like, are you fucking like serious? Do you know how much better you could feel?
Yeah.
If you actually optimized everything.
Absolutely, man.
And that's why like your clientele is perfect.
Yeah.
Like, those entrepreneurs understand that optimization in the business
is key. Yeah.
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 Mate, it's so interesting in terms of like your personal optimization. Like what you're doing for yourself.
Yeah, to be honest, like I'm very much like quite, you could say, basic in what I do. I'm very much like get enough sleep, eat a good healthy whole foods diet, make sure that you train regularly, keep your calories under control, try not to drink too much alcohol. Summer it's difficult, right? Yeah. I'm really just like nailing the consistency side of things. And when I do that, I feel really amazing, to be honest. I don't really need to do a lot of this like high level biohacking stuff that other people seem to want to do.
Alex Becker style.
Alex Becker, yeah. And I do respect Alex Becker, fair play. He's built a huge business and he's very dedicated, but you don't need to do those things and get to those levels.
But don't you want
to
do like a 6-month spell?
It would
just
be
doing
cool.
What he does.
It would be interesting. Man.
I would love to see like the
and like that Brian Johnson, right? You know that guy who's
yeah.
trying to like reduce his aging. Like I'd love to be on his protocol for 6 months just to see how different I'd feel and what it'd be like.
He does look weird though.
Yeah, man, he
looks
odd.
Yeah, like he looks too polished.
This is what I mean. Yeah, like if you saw him like in a bed at Ocean, I'd be like, he's not really gonna be pulling any girls, is he? Whereas I think I quite like the way I look, man. I'd rather look like that.
Have you seen his protocol though, in terms of his diet?
Fucking crazy,
it's
bro.
Insane, mate. I sent it to you. I think like the diet he has and like but he's also like a vegan.
Yeah,
I can't really get on board with that.
Yeah, it's wild.
Have you tried it?
I haven't, man. Like I like meat too much, bro.
Yeah, same. Like I can't do vegan style. Can't even do veggie style, mate. I wouldn't even want to go vegetarian. Like
I just don't really see the positive in it, unfortunately. And every plant-based meal or everything that I've seen on plant-based meals, which are like plant-based meat and whatnot, it seems more negative than positive. For sure.
There's a lot of amino acids that you miss with the vegan diet. There's a lot of other nutrients that your body actually needs. So I think it's fine if you want to go vegan if you've just had a standard Western diet, because your standard Western diet is fucking shit. So anything better than that's going to be good.
Yeah.
But obviously when you're looking at optimizing, you're going to need to add a lot of supplements and a lot of like other bits into your diet if you want a vegan diet to work and you to be fully healthy. So that's why I think like a whole foods diet with, lots of meat, vegetables as well, including like healthy carb sources, nutrient dense foods is really good for you. To be honest, that's kind of my ethos.
Bro, can I ask you a bit of a random question?
Yeah, sure.
When you see someone who's like obese, what's your thought process? Because like obviously with the coaching, like you can see the mechanics behind things.
Yeah.
So like when you see that, like what do you like think?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I try not to be judgmental on people that are really, really big, firstly, because like, especially if they're coming to me and they're wanting to change, like I'll look at you the same as anyone else. Like I respect you for making the change. One of the first things is just getting an understanding of like their habits, because their habits are awful. If you're obese, like your eating habits especially are going to be terrible, right? And another thing that a lot of people have to consider is if you're obese, it's like wearing like £100 vest on you every single day.
Hefty.
It's hefty, man. So like when coaches and people are getting them doing like resistance training and like heavy squats, it's like you're actually trying to torture these guys, man. Like the best thing that these guys can be doing is steps, man. Steps and just cleaning up your diet so it's better than what you're currently eating, because what you're currently eating is terrible.
Well, I always think like how big is the calorie like deficit?
Must be nuts.
It must be like,
well, you probably know, like when you have people, obese people that come in with you, like what, like how many calories do they eat? Like what's it?
Sometimes they don't even. They don't know how many calories they're eating, man.
The baseline is just
crazy, right? It's a lot of emotional eating. There's a lot of binge eating. There's a lot of habitual stuff. That
We've all been there,
it's
man.
just,
I'm not gonna lie.
it's just non-stop, right? So for these guys, it's basically just like if they just change from junk food to whole food, they'll lose tons of weight, right? Because it's very hard to overconsume on chicken, grains, potatoes, veg, all that kind of stuff. So just switch that up, right? And do some walking. Man, these guys will just, the weight will fall off you. And especially when you're big, the more weight you have, the more you can lose quite quickly.
For sure.
So that would be my approach to anyone that's obese.
Do you ever get frustrated at clients when like they're not doing the actions that you've delivered to them that could basically improve their lifestyle and hit their goals?
Absolutely, man. And this is the part of coaching that I think is important, is you got to tell people what they don't like sometimes, man. You got to tell them that they need it. You need to give them a kick up the ass and say, look, man, like you don't want it, right? You've said that you've wanted to dedicate yourself to this process, but you're obviously not applying yourself, right? And one of the big things we do is we try and get a why and an understanding of why, you know, the person wants to make the change, right? And for a lot of these guys, right, it's kind of like they've got a beer belly and their kids are like, I don't want to have a beer belly like dad. Do you know how horrible that would be for your son who you love to be like, I don't want a beer belly like dad? You're supposed to be their role model. So, you know, this is why the discovery call of what we do in the sales part is really important. We do a huge discovery, right? Like, you know, I know their kids, I know their kids' names, right? Like I know if they've got a Peloton in their house, I know their job, I know what state they're in, I know roughly how much they earn, right? I know like their family history of health. So I've got a huge understanding of these people when they come in. So we know the emotional triggers that they've got. We know the drivers. We know like why they sabotage themselves, because we do this really in depth. So when things aren't going well and they're not following the process, we just bring it back to the start. It's like, well, do you want to be the fat dad? And you know, your kid saying to you like, I don't want to be like dad. Do you actually want to be around for your kids is another one, right? For these guys that are really unhealthy. So that's a big part of what we do, is bringing them kind of full circle on their why.
Will you ever disqualify someone?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
a lot. Yeah.
What won't you take from a client?
So,
other than obviously finances.
Yeah, finance is important. But really, it's people that are not willing to be committed to the process, because we're a digital wellness company. We do everything online. We're not in person, so there has to be some level of commitment of the client to want to go and do the workouts and want to make the change. And to be honest, if they don't want it bad enough, then we won't work with them.
How do you identify it though?
A lot of it's done through the discovery. The discovery call. Yeah.
I love the fact that there's 3, 6 and 12 month plans.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, if you're paying out for a 12-month plan,
you got skin in the game, bro.
Exactly. Like if you're, and I presume you're paying full at the start.
You always split it into two. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you're making that initial investment, like you're probably committed to actually like changing your life.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. And we love those kinds of people. I think everybody loves those kind of people, right?
What's your price points of those? 3, 6 and 12?
Yeah, so we've got a 12-month program, which is 10K,
Yep.
10,000. We do 6 months for like 6K, and then we've got 3 months, which is like 3 or 4K.
And if I'm paying for the 12-month, like what do you offer?
Yeah, so with that we do kind of full health testing. So the first thing we do is like a health panel, right? So we decide what health tests that you want to get done. Usually blood work, testosterone, gut health, and obviously an in-body scan, so like a DEXA scan.
That's unreal, bro. Can I jump in a sec?
Yep.
What's the like baseline test levels you're seeing for people?
I
bet they're low, aren't they?
Yeah, they vary. Yeah.
But like on average, because these guys are probably overworked.
Yeah. They're usually lower. Their free testosterone's usually low.
So the range is between 12 and 30, right?
Yeah.
Where are they usually on the scale?
Sometimes single digits, bro.
Fuck off.
Yeah, quite low, bro.
Oh my God,
yeah,
mate.
It's crazy.
How are they even getting up to crack on with work?
I don't know, man. Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, so
Do you identify that as like one of the major factors though as well?
Testosterone's a big one, man. Like when you look at, like, again, going back to CEOs and entrepreneurs who we work with, the number one symptom of low testosterone is brain fog, right? So this is when, like, you don't have clarity of thought, your mind's a bit hazy, you find it hard to make decisions, you feel a bit irritable, a bit moody. Do you know how hard that is, like, when you're running a £100 million business, to have that, like, going on in your mind, right? If you could fix that, how different do you think your decisions will be each day, or how easy would your life be? So much easier. I mean, these guys are already doing it at a high level with a terrible fucking health. So if we can just fix the brain fog and sort that out, do you know how better they're going to operate, right? Like how much better they're going to be with their wife and their kids because of this change. It's crazy.
10 grand just for that.
Yeah, that's so true.
And this is why, like, I get people say, oh, well, you charge too much for your health program. Well, if someone's got a £100 million business and, you know, his decisions that he makes a few each day that are really important. If the healthy changes that we make improve some of the decisions that he makes, that's probably worth more than 10,000. He's getting a good deal, bro.
Mate, I think your prices should be higher.
Exactly. And also, you look at, like, health costs as well, right? Like, if you've got, you know, you go and have health insurance, or there are bills in the future from being unhealthy, they're going to be in the tens to hundreds of thousands if you're obese and unwell in the future, especially in the US, right? So paying me 10,000 to actually fix those, you get a fucking good deal, mate.
I think it's a 30 deal.
I think that's also if you're getting longevity from it as well. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
Not only are you paying 10 grand for the decisions to be made in those moments, but you're also paying for, like, the experiences that you're going to gain later on in life.
Exactly, yeah.
It's the knowledge.
And the knowledge and understanding of your body.
Yeah,
right?
like same as anything. Like everything, if you look at any of the mastermind groups, anything along those lines, like, all you're ever paying for is the knowledge from that person who's got the expertise.
Absolutely, yeah.
And if 10 grand for a year's program, and, like, it can improve your lifestyle by 5%, and you're making 100 mil. Yeah, it's a fucking no-brainer. Yeah, an absolute no-brainer.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which one do you think is more influential, the gut or the testosterone?
I think it's hard, man. I think both. Yeah.
I need to get on gut health.
Yeah, gut health.
I'm definitely after this going to hit you up.
Same.
Testosterone's a big one, man. Testosterone's big as well, especially like big CEOs. Like your drive each day, your energy, all comes from testosterone, man. Yeah, they have to be at a good level.
Mate, I've done TRT. Just started TRT again. Yeah. I've had a break for a year off it.
How's it going?
Probably about a year.
About a year, yeah.
11 months off it. Mate, honestly, it's been the worst 11 months. Like, mate, I cruised for quite a long time. Yeah. And, like, yeah, like, coming off it, because I cruised for a considerable amount of time. Yeah, yeah. The reason, my friend said to me, I don't even know why you've come off it. And I just said, like, it's the fertility side of stuff. Yeah, yeah. Because that's the only
I've heard that's the drawback, yeah. And obviously when you come off it as well, it is a drug, right? So you come off it and you feel terrible, apparently.
Mate, it felt absolutely awful for about 6 weeks. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then basically got my bloods done probably about 2 months ago now. Yeah. Everything's back to normal. Yeah, yeah. So you know what that means. It's time to get back on board. But yeah, like, 2 weeks on, and like sleep's already started to improve. Yeah. Intensity of training dramatically increases. Yeah, yeah. And then your DOMs aren't anywhere near as bad.
Yeah, you can train harder and for longer.
100%. And like for me, like from my perspective, like that's me at 27 years old. Yeah. So like imagine being 55. Yeah. And never having like any TRT. Yeah. And like having this enormous like stress vacuum from the business, family, everything. Like, if you just do TRT at that point, there is
makes you a more competitive force.
There's no downside.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely none. Recovery's better.
If you do it properly as well. Of course. Right? Like, you know, you go to a doctor or you do it in the right ways or whatever it is. Yeah. There are, you know, the upside versus the downside is crazy. There's so much upside.
Mate, I don't even think there's a comparison. No. Like for a 55-year-old man that's already had his kids.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Do you think you'll be on it?
Yeah, I think so. As I get older, for sure. I think at the minute, like I'm nearing 30. I think I need to get tested soon. But like my natural testosterone levels are pretty good anyway, and I lead a pretty good lifestyle. But there will be a point where your natural test declines, and I think after I have kids, if I still want to be operating with the same energy that I want, you know, I want to be able to play with my kids. I want to be sharp for business and things like that. I definitely think that it will be something I'll consider.
Bro, have you ever thought about doing any other stags?
No, I've never done anything ever, which is crazy. So. Yeah, I've been natty my whole life.
Have you ever like wanted to do them though?
Absolutely. Have you ever got, absolutely, mate.
I
mean, I've even jumped on a call with a potential coach to do it. Like, I've been that close to actually pulling the trigger.
What's like holding you on?
It's just because naturally I feel good, so I don't feel I need it yet.
To be fair, mate, you look good naturally.
Thanks, mate. Yeah. So when I'm training properly, eating properly, I'm lean and I'm dialed in, man. Like, I don't feel like I need the test, and I don't want to be a Mr. Olympia, I've got a bird as well, so it's like, she likes me the way I look. I don't look terrible. So, for me, like there's like really no upside at the minute. However, I think when natural test does drop and I start to see the difference in performance, that's when I'll probably jump on.
100%. I'm completely with you. And like doing like copious amounts of like gear.
Yeah.
When you're not going to compete and stuff, it does seem like the negatives could outweigh the positives.
The positives, exactly. Yeah.
But
yeah,
like it also like intrigues me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it also like I'm also like, ooh, like I wonder what that feels like. I wonder like, like when you first do. I did my first.
It's like that next level, right?
Yeah.
And it's like when people say like, oh, sprinters in the Olympics, like they shouldn't be taking drugs. I think they should, because would you rather see them run the 100 meters in 9 seconds or 5 seconds? I think 5 seconds would be sick.
And to be fair, they're all on gear anyway.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But, bro, I guess that kind of brings us like full circle to where we're at today.
Yep.
In terms of the business, what you offer. What's next on the cards? What's the next chapter for it?
Yeah, really good, man. So we're at the point now where we're starting to scale things up. We've kind of got people in our team that do a lot of the work. So we're just looking to scale that up even further through kind of socials and social channels, and really just build a huge client base through the one-to-one coaching health program that we've got specifically for entrepreneurs. I think we're going to build some more passive products as well, some digital products, maybe a bit lower tier, that maybe people that can't afford the higher ticket program can actually get access to, which I think will be good, and that will share a lot about like how to do health testing, understand it, and things like that, which not a lot of people cover, I don't think. As well as like I'd love to do a B2B side of things in the future. So this would be like going into like executive teams and being like, hey, look, we'll train your executive leadership team on like health, wellness, get more sleep, better performance, more productivity, more output. You pay us, a good fee, and we then go around like all of their friends and they basically like recommend us, and we do that. I think that'd be a great other arm to the business to have.
I think that is enormous. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Mate, it's fucking sick. Like you want to launch that before this goes live.
yeah, exactly. I've got 2 months.
But like after the first one you got a bit more time.
I was going to say, yeah.
But mate, that's unbelievable because of the community element for those staff, that staff members as well.
Yeah, and look at it as well from our point of view. A lot of our clients are already running businesses, right? So the hardest part is probably the in, right? How do you speak with CEOs of big companies?
Them.
Well, I already coached them, right? And they already have and they're all in the same circles, right? All these entrepreneurs, they go to the same masterminds, the same events. You get in with one, you do a good job, they can then recommend you to all these other people.
That's so true.
It's a network effect, right?
Of imagine a good doing network. That for your sales team.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Also, it's a no-brainer for those CEOs or high-level execs, because like if you're investing that much into your team, you're only going to benefit from it.
100%. And also like you're talking about the high ticket for the high level like C-suite or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine you had like a lower ticket for like 50 salesmen.
Exactly. Yeah,
like, that would be fucking like that'd be crazy. Yeah, because like imagine the performance of those sales reps.
It would be incredible.
You'd have a mean team.
That is like that's got to be like the evolution of like sales teams and like the development of like.
Man. I think health optimization will be a huge part because it will be a competitive advantage for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right? Especially when you look at the benefits of testosterone now, you look at the benefits of sleep.
Imagine getting everyone in the sales division on like 400 mg a test. They'd be killers, mate. They'd be closing like there's no tomorrow, mate.
There'd be some heavy
there'd be some hefty arguing.
Too much testosterone going around.
Yeah.
Fucking
hell. How about so you've touched on like the business development, but how about like outside the business? Like
outside of business, man. So my plan is actually to move to Dubai at the end of the year and register the business out there, which is really interesting. Personally, I've actually got a Russian girlfriend as well, so she's supposed to come over to the UK, but she can't get a visa because of what's going on. So we're kind of planning to move to Dubai, and she's going to kind of move out with me.
Russian princess,
yeah, nice. Exactly. So going out there will be a really good step because I think like that's the next level of where people are really pushing themselves business-wise, and the environment will be amazing.
Is that you going there for the opportunity then?
Yeah, a lot of it. I think a lot of it will be the lifestyle as well. I like being shirtless in the sun and shit as well.
Taxable benefits as well.
Yeah, the tax benefits. So there is a lot of things that are aligning, and the fact that obviously my girlfriend can't come to the UK because of the visa situation. A lot of boxes are being ticked that Dubai is maybe the place to go.
Yeah.
And I think it would be great to live there because I think I could really level up my network and my business while being there, which is great.
Mate, I've said the same about it, about moving there as well.
Yeah.
Like I was watching, we talked about this on the way up here, like Rob Moore on Dodge's podcast.
Yeah.
Which is a sick podcast. Yeah. And basically they were talking about like the tax in the UK.
Yeah.
And if you add everything up in terms of corporation tax, national insurance,
income tax,
absolutely everything. Like I don't know if it was 45 or 52%.
Yeah.
Think how insane that is.
Fucking crazy, mate.
52%. So like half of your money is just going to the government.
Crazy, man.
Whereas you go to Dubai and it's,
Exactly, yeah.
Crazy, mate. It does sound like a bit of a no-brainer though, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. It does. What's the barriers of entry trying to get into Dubai?
I think it's quite easy at the minute, to be honest. They're very kind of positive towards people coming in, building businesses there and starting businesses. And obviously they incentivize that by the 0% tax.
Yeah.
So I've spoken to, I've got friends out there at the minute that register businesses, and also spoke with like a company that can kind of do the whole legal part of getting it registered and shit. So I think it should be fairly straightforward, to be honest. Yeah. So we should be good, quite easy.
Nice. Yeah, nice, mate. And I guess, in terms of obviously the business and work and everything else, like, that's kind of where you're going to go next with it all. But like, what about the training side of things?
Yeah, really good question. So I find that like, and this is a really good point to make. I think life is a bit like seasons. And at the minute, my real focus is business. It is like, okay, trying to build the business as big as possible and really do that. And if I don't have abs at the minute, I don't really care, because like my goal is to grow the business and to make money and to make it a success and make sure my clients are getting successful. So my training is kind of like a bit minimal now. It's a bit sporadic and it's not as structured as it could be. And I could probably aid that by having a coach or something like that. But I think it's good to look at life like seasons. That there was lots of times where I dedicate myself to being in shape before a holiday, and all of my mental energy will go towards that. But at the minute, I want my mental energy to go towards building the business and shit like that, and obviously still making sure I have time for my girlfriend and my friends and shit as well. So it's probably not where it was before, but I'm okay with that because I know that I'm dedicating myself in other areas.
Yeah, for sure. And they're just energy pods.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and like when you focus too much on fitness, and we've talked about this on the podcast, everything can go wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
As long as you're in good nick, it don't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I go on holiday to Ibiza the other week, and I was probably like at the highest body fat percentage for me, right, that there's been. And I still was in really good shape. People were complimenting me, and like girls were like, "Yeah, you still look good," and I'm like, "Fuck, I'm fat." Like, what's going on?
That's your level though, like your level still.
Yeah,
standards.
Yeah, it's weird, mate. Yeah, it's odd.
Yeah, mate. There's nothing worse than being in dead nick.
Yeah. Nah, it's worse.
I've just come back from holiday and like,
yeah.
Honestly, I didn't know I was going, so like I didn't train for it, and like when I was out there, I was just like.
You still look good though, man. Still look like you lift. It's just by our standards, we feel that we're not.
Yeah. Bro, I felt like a sack of potatoes. Just like, but yeah, it is standards. But if you have those same standards in business, then you're going to propel in that area. So I completely get it.
Yeah.
Cool, mate. Let's wrap it up there.
Yeah. Sound, mate. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, boys, and good to meet you.
Bro, where can people find you? Yeah,
so best place is probably Twitter. That's where I'm most active. The Oliver Anwar. You'll also find me on Instagram, same username. And then you can also check out my website, which is fitnessforentrepreneurs.com/book. And you can check out all our client results, a little bit about our program. And yeah, if you are a high level kind of entrepreneur or executive that is interested, you can book in a call with me. And yeah, I can talk to you more about how we work.
100%, bro. And mate, look, thank you so much for coming on.
Appreciate you boys coming down.
You're a G, mate. You already know that.
You guys are G.
Mate, we're wishing you the best of luck with everything.
All right, thanks, boys.
Sound, bro.
Top guys.
Thank you so much, man.
Legend.